Hello my friends and welcome back to the rabbit hole. We are finally doing a best of skincare series on this channel. I'm going to be picking my favorite products in every category, at least up through 2019. Now, there are a couple of things I want you to know in advance. First off, I want you to know that this is only my opinion. I do not want my videos in any way to come off as saying that what you are doing or using is wrong. The point of my channel has always been and always will be for me to share my experience, what I have learned about skincare as I've gone along. Now, there are a couple of things that I've learned that I want to make sure I emphasize in this series. One being that I want to make sure I have at least one drugstore product per video and also at least one fragrance-free, no essential oils product per video. I've come to realize that those are very important for many of you, and I want to make sure that I showcase a product within those rules. Beyond that, there's not going to be any specific format that I'm following from video to video. I'm going to kind of pick what I think is most important to focus on within that category. So for today's video, I'm mostly going to talk about skin type. And to be completely honest with you, I think that cleanser shouldn't actually be a complicated category. For me personally, I have seen the best results from gentle cleansers. You've probably heard it. I'm not the first person to say, actually, yeah, gentle cleansers are the best, but I do have to admit, that was hard for me to accept early on. My favorite cleanser in the past was Origin's Checks and Balances. It just did not love me back the way that I loved it. Let's kick things off with my personal favorite overall cleanser, the one that I think would suit the widest variety of skin types. And that is none other than the Lovely Skin Luxe Gentle Cream Cleanser. If I'm being completely honest with you, out of all of the trials that I've done, there are a small handful of trials where at the end I was mind blown by the results. But you know what every single one of those trials has in common? All of the products were either formulated by a dermatologist, a medical doctor, or a scientist. No exceptions to that. Those have given me the best results. Can you even imagine it? Medical professionals making the best products. What? What is this dystopian reality that I'm living in? But it does make sense, and I think that's part of why my Lovely Skin trial went so well. This brand is indeed owned and operated by a dermatologist. They did gift me an entire routine, including this, and at this point, I'm not sure when I'm gonna run out of this cleanser. It's one of my favorite features of this, is I think you need so little of this compared to any other cleanser I've tried. I think you need the smallest amount of this one in particular, so that you buy one tube of this and it should last you, I'd say, a year. That's how little you need of this, and I tell you this because I'm using this, Ara is using this, and we have barely made a dent in it. And another feature of this cleanser that I think makes it stand out so much is that they do use AFAs in it, so those are more gentle alternatives to your AHAs. For me personally, I've tried quite a few cleansers that use AHAs, that use BHAs, and I've never really felt that's the best place to incorporate those ingredients. But in a cleanser, this gentle AFA formula works well. And then for my favorite overall drugstore cleanser, it is none other than the PIXI Rose Cream Cleanser. This is such a delight to use. I genuinely think whether you have more dry or oily skin, you will enjoy using this, and for me, one of the best perks of this is that this $15 cleanser reminds me so much of that very expensive Amaravixa cream cleanser that I also happen to love. But hey, I can save $65 buying this one. I love this product. I think that PIXI as a line is they're kind of hit or miss, but this is definitely a hit. My favorite cleanser for dry skin. Ooh, as someone with dry skin, I put so much thought into this particular category, and the product that I came up with, I had to go way back in time for and say, it is the Fresh Soy Face Cleanser. This trial goes back so far that it was when I was still enjoying the really harsh cleansers on the market, and I wasn't quite ready for a gentle cleanser where I didn't feel squeaky clean. As time progressed, as I learned more about skincare and started to accept the truth that was staring me face to face in the mirror, I realized, oh yeah, the more gentle a cleanser is, the better it is for my skin type. And I do think that this kind of is a cult status favorite among people with dry skin for a good reason. It's just so gentle, and yet you do feel clean after using it, but somehow still moisturized, and that is very important for people with dry skin. My favorite cleanser for oily skin. Now, keep in mind that I do not have oily skin, so I'm going with what makes me feel a little bit more dry, but not to an uncomfortable level, and that's why this is the only gel cleanser in this video. This is the NEUTROGENA Hydro Boost Hydrating Cleansing Gel. This is another drugstore product where I really do think it is a very well formulated product. I do have a critique of this, and it still applies. Hyaluronic acid in your cleanser step is not really gonna do all that much other than serve as a little bit of a humectant. I can look past that in a drugstore product where I don't feel like the price is overinflated. I don't feel like they're saying, you know, this is a hyaluronic acid product in your cleanser, pay $80 so you can get that benefit. No, they're just straightforward. And this is one of the many reasons why I'm kind of jealous of those of you that have oily skin. I feel like you have some of the most affordable and yet amazing products to choose from. Part of my theory is that I think, at least for brands, they might associate oily skin with teenagers and then think, okay, well, we gotta make affordable products for them. That's my best guess. If you are into your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond, and you have oily skin, you get some of the most affordable products, and you have the least signs of aging to deal with. It's a little not fair, but don't worry, I love you anyway. My pick for sensitive skin, you guys, I keep talking so much about this brand lately. The Dr. BABOR Calming RX Soothing Cleanser. No essential oils, no fragrance. The only unique characteristic of this is those silver salts. Now, silver salts, that's not talked about that much, but that's gonna give you antibacterial properties in the cleansing step. As far as my opinion on fragrance and products, I'm going to be honest with you that when you get into the truly unscented products, it's not going to smell super pleasant or enjoyable. It's going to smell probably a bit on the medicinal side. I do bend the most in this category with fragrance simply because it can be on your skin for, you know, a very short period of time. And yet I do believe that there is a level of sensitivity that cannot tolerate that. So again, this gets my pick in that category. Raise your hand if you knew that I was going to include a micellar water in this video. I use my cleansers once a day at night, and in the morning I use a micellar water. This is kind of a controversial choice, but it works for me. I saw a huge turning point in my skin when I dropped down from cleansing twice a day to only once a day with the micellar water in the morning. I think that at least part of this probably just depends on your city's water. I've got some stories of how harsh my city's water is. Not only do we have an awful lot of boil water advisories, but we also I'm going to share with you one of the stories. I was working this one show and they needed the models to all be blonde for it. So thankfully, I was already blonde. I was sitting over in the break area with my book, just kind of reading as I waited for the other models to get bleached. What kept happening is the models kept coming back after it was supposedly being bleached, and they were not blonde. This kept happening over and over again. All that was happening is these models were returning to the table with their hair looking more and more damaged, not blonde. I remember the hairstylists absolutely freaking out. They were like, what is going on? We are doing everything right and none of these models' hair is lifting. Well, it turns out, and we only found this out a couple of days later, something had happened to our city's water supply so that there were some kind of chemicals in it that were reacting with the bleach in a way that made it not work. I felt so bad for some of those girls. Oh my gosh, they fried the heck out of their hair. They managed to lift some of them, but gave up on some and just threw wigs on them. It was that bad. So, you know, my city's water situation clearly is complicated. And that's when I think micellar water can play a very important role. You know, if you don't really know what's in the water that you're using to wash your face, you could be doing something pretty rough to your face. When you opt for a micellar water instead, you are not letting water touch your face, in the cleansing process. I did have to give this category a lot of thought because I've noticed that even though I seem to be able to use the vast majority of micellar waters, that's not true for everybody. The Garnier one causes issues for a certain number of people, for example, whereas this one, the BIODERMA SENSIBIO H2O, seems to be the less irritating for the most people. And this is another product that is free of fragrance, free of essential oils. The only natural ingredient in this is cucumber, which in general is a very cooling ingredient for most skin types. And then finally, my makeup remover after all these years, my favorite remains the same. It is the HARDIE Amazing Face Moringa Cleansing Balm. I do not have to look at the package to know the name of this one. This one is certainly not fragrance free. It does have a rather strong citrus scent, but I love citrus scents. I wish I could use them more in my skincare routine. It seems to work for me in the makeup removal step, and like I've said, I'm willing to splurge in this category because I spend so much time on my makeup that it's devastating to remove it. So being able to use this very luxurious, very enjoyable makeup remover makes it a lot less of a traumatizing scenario for me. I certainly do not think that everybody needs to splurge in this category. In fact, the Vanilla Clean at Zero works just as effectively. But if you do want to splurge, this is one of my favorite splurges. I have but one final category. I want to share with you my favorite cleansing tool, and you know what it is? No, not the Clarisonic. No, not the Foreo. I do like the Foreo, but my absolute favorite cleansing tool is a KONJAC sponge. And I'm not picky within this category. I've used a wide variety of KONJAC sponges. I feel like they all work generally the same. They all give you this very light, very gentle exfoliation on the skin that is not at all harsh. It is just gentle, enjoyable to use. If you've ever touched a KONJAC sponge, they just feel so nice. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for the duration of this series, and I'll see you all next time.